Say what's going on, YouTube. Once again, it's your boy 16 to life, yard down. I got another story for y'all today. But before I get started, do your boy a favor. Hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. That way, when I drop a story, you can hop right on it if you want to. All right. This story right here is going to be one of my Montana stories. Like I said, back in 1989, I started going to Billings, Montana on a fluke. But I ended up liking it and ended up staying out there. You know, a lot of people always ask me like, damn, you was in Montana? Was it a lot of blacks out there? And surprisingly enough, you know, it was. It was a nice little handful of blacks out there. A lot of brothers that went out there and got on some football scholarships or basketball scholarships. They had some colleges out there, Rocky and Eastern. And then also, you know, you had a lot of pimps and shit out there from Rockford, Illinois, Oakland, Georgia, all over the place. You know, Montana in the summertime, they have a lot of rodeos and shit. And that, you know, that right there will bring a lot of people out there, you know, a lot of trick turning season and all that shit. So anyway, one particular day, it was probably about 1990, you know, I'm out there, I'm doing my thing, you know, selling a little dope and shit. So I get a call out the blue from some broad I don't even know. Her name was Jennifer Norris. So she like, is this chill? I'm like, yeah, what's up? Who is this? So she tell me, she said, oh, you don't know me, but I'm in love with you. I said, what, you in love with me? How you in love with me? So long story short, she was in some type of like home for bad girls or whatever, like maybe about an hour away. Now it was another girl who had went up there by the name of Fiona Beth. She had went up there and I guess she was telling her all about me. There was some black guy from California, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, she said she used to talk about me so much, she fell in love with me. So anyway, she come past the house and shit, you know. On real, you know, I had to knock that down real quick. Anyway, though, when she got to ask, oh, you got a girlfriend? I had a girlfriend. So what ended up turning out is we ended up just becoming pretty good friends. Now, periodically, she would always be telling me about her dad. Her dad's name was Bobby Norris. Her dad happened to be in Deer Lodge prison. At this point in time, he had been in there about 10 years for rape and shit. But she was telling me, oh yeah, he didn't do it. He gonna get out. And you know, they had his case on Hard Copy. Hard Copy was like a news show, somewhat similar to Inside Edition. So, long story short, maybe I don't know, a year later or whatever, he actually ended up getting out. His case got overturned. You know, so what he ended up telling me is, you had a lot of women coming into trial. You know, you had some anti-rape group coming to trial. They had some buttons on them, some anti-rape buttons, and he said those buttons prejudiced the jury. That was his argument. So that he got an appeals bond. They ended up overturning this case. He had to bond out for X amount of dollars. I can't remember that figure. So anyway, when I first meet him, he's like, hey, what's going on, man? I heard a whole lot about you, man, and woo, woo, woo. So we talking, and he look at my car. I had me a little 7.8 Cutlass, man, on some rims and shit, on some laces, powder blue Phantom, you know, the chill mobile. He thought, hey, man, you know, you want to wreck this car on some insurance scam shit? I'm like, hell no, you know, this is my favorite car. This is my first car, my prized possession and shit. So, okay, later on, he end up slapping his girlfriend or something. So they end up revoking his bond. So he ended up going to jail. Now, maybe about a year prior to this, police had raided my house. So I'm fighting a dope case. So what ended up happening is I ended up taking a deal for 5 years probation. But now in Montana, you can sign a deal. The DA can say, okay, I'm going to give you this deal for 5 years, but the judge is not bounded by the plea. So basically, which means you can take a deal for 5 years probation. You can go to court. The judge can turn around and give your ass 9 years in the pen. Is what he ended up doing to me. Actually, he gave me 10 years. And he suspended it all except for 2 months. So phew, they snatched my ass up, took me to jail right then and there. I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers didn't work me. So anyway, when I'm in the jail, I end up being in the same pod eventually with Bobby Norris. Okay, it was Bobby Norris was up in there. It was another cold motherfucker by the name of Robert, man, from Rockford, Illinois. His cousin, this pimp nigga named Rufus, had brought him out there basically on some like bodyguard shit. You know, this nigga was like a cold motherfucker, real convict, really with the shit. I got another story about him a little later. So a few other cats we up in there and shit. Okay, so now Bobby Norris, Jennifer's dad, he would always be walking around the pod, always walking around the pod. It was a white boy out there by the name of Eric from Redlands. Eric was from Redlands, California, but he had went out to Montana, and him and his friend had caught a murder case. They ended up killing some hoe. They had killed a hoe out there by the name of Stacy, and so they was locked up for that. So now, like I say, Bobby had basically was a jailhouse lawyer. He had got his case overturned. He had been locked up for about 10 years. He had all these legal books and all this shit in his cell. So anybody that had anything to do with his case, he had discovery on him. Now, cold thing, the hoe who ended up getting killed by the name of Stacy, that they shot her like 18, 20 times and shit, left her out in the field somewhere. But anyway, he had all the discovery on her. Because I guess when he was out, he had bumped into her some type of way. She had something to do with his case. So anyway, he called me up there one day. He showed me some paperwork where she had wore a wire and went to my old house. I no longer lived in the house, but I let my homie OZ rest in peace. He was living in the house. She went over there with the intention to buy some dope from me, but OZ wasn't there, so she ended up buying some dope from OZ with a wire on her and a couple other dudes. But you know, fortunately for them, unfortunately for her, she ended up getting killed before they could ever bring the charges up. So you know, this dude got all this shit in his cell. Now, like I said, he always walking around the pod, with this white boy, Eric, and shit. You know, they talking. Eric had caught a case, like I say, with somebody from out there. Now, Eric had a public defender, but his crimee was rich. His family had this lawyer defending him named Timer Moses. You know, this dude was like an old, you know, famous lawyer out there. And he had 2 sons at the time running the practice, his lawyer business. But his family ended up bringing him out of retirement to represent their son in this case. You know, they family had bread. But now he was in another pod. So him and Eric always walking and talking every single day for hours and hours and hours and hours. They always walking and talking. So, okay. So now one day we sitting in the day room watching TV. The news come on and it says they had found the guns in the murder of Stacy. So I said, hey man, look right here. They said they found the guns in old boy's case. Bobby come over there, hey man, don't be talking about this dude's case, man. And you gonna be getting him some trouble. I jumped up on him. I said, man, shut your ass up, man. I ain't seeing nothing but what they just said right here on the goddamn news and shit. You talking that bullshit, man. You better go on. So him and the boy, they end up walking off. So, and from time to time, we would always see Bobby like maybe 1 o'clock at night coming out of his cell. They would be taking him down in the front somewhere. So the boy Robert asked him, he said, hey man, why you always be going, you know, late at night? You know, he said, where you be going? He said, oh man, well, they take me down to let me call my lawyer. I can't talk on these phones about my case, because these phones is, you know, these phones, they be listening to the phones and shit in my cases, you know, sensitive information or confidential shit information. However he termed it, all right? So anyway, okay. So we up in there, you know, time is going on. Now, so Bobby is going back and forth to court fighting his case and shit. You know, he's like, hey, yeah, man, I'm about to get out of here. You know, I'm about to win. And, you know, they just have to give me all this money and all this old type of shit. You know, they had me in prison for 10 years on some shit I didn't do and all this old type of shit, right? So, and then, so we, okay, like this motherfucker, yeah, he finished to get, because actually, like I said, he'd already got his case appealed anyway. And he was out on appeals bond till he slapped a girl. Then he got his bond revoked. So all this shit is going on. So now one day we wake up in the morning, Bobby gone. He gone out the whole tank. So he don't come back. So Robert ended up asking the guard or something. He asked him, hey man, you know, where Bobby? He said, oh man, we didn't move Bobby over there to such and such. You know, he's in one of them different tanks. We like, damn, what's going on with that shit? So the next day, you know, I've been in there doing my little 60 days. I had a subscription to the newspaper. So the next day, I get the newspaper. Front page news. Bobby Norris takes plea deal in the rape case. So we like, oh, we tripping. Like, oh man, why this motherfucker take a deal? That's crazy. We thought it because, you know, when he going back and forth to court, he coming back showing us, you know, the documents from the courts and talking about his semen wasn't in the panties and all that. And it really looked like the dude was innocent. It looked like he was just, you know, beat his case and get paid just like he said. So all of a sudden now we see that he takes a deal in his case, you know. And so I'm reading the article. Then I say at the end, now my buddy Robert, he couldn't read. He'd always come to me every day like, hey man, here, read me my horoscope. You know, he believed in them horoscopes and shit, but he couldn't read or write. So I'm reading the story to him. Then I get to like the final few paragraphs, and it say also, Bobby Norris will be the head witness against Eric and the other dude. So come to find out why Eric and Bobby is walking and talking, Eric is telling Bobby all about his case. Bobby is running back to the DA, letting the DA know everything. So that's how they end up finding the guns. Eric had told Bobby where the guns was. Bobby told the DA. That's why he ended up getting so mad and shit when I said, hey man, look, they done found the guns on this case. Because he knowing that we ain't knowing, he the one telling them. That's how they found the guns in the river. So Robert, he said, hey man, hey Eric, come over here, man. Look at this, read this. So no bullshit. Eric come over there. I give him the newspaper. That motherfucker start reading that shit. He get to the last few lines and read that Bobby is telling on him. Boom! Faint right then and there. That motherfucker fall out right then and there. Bam! Face to the floor. Go out and shit. Pass out. So later on, you know, he end up turning state's evidence too against his crime. You know what I'm saying? So Bobby go to trial. He tell on them motherfuckers. They both of them get smacked. They get a gang of time. I forget how much it was, but they get slapped over the head. Both of them like 70, 80 years with a gang of time and shit. So Bobby, after he testified 2-3 days later, they let him out on his deal. You know, his time served, whatever. He that motherfucker, he out of here. He go to Ohio. So maybe about 3 or 4 months later, I get out. I happen to run across Jennifer. I asked her, hey, what's going on with your dad? You know, she said, oh, that fucking bastard, he's locked back up again for rape. Bobby Norris out there in Ohio. What happened was the police is, some cars flying down the street. Just so happened the police pulled them motherfuckers over. They hear some banging on the trunk. Dude's like, yeah, we get this motherfucker in here raped my daughter. The police go to the trunk. They got Bobby's ass tied up in the trunk. Just to take him somewhere and go kill him. Had his ass tied up in the motherfucking trunk. So yeah, man, you know, you can look that up. I looked him up not too long ago, man. Bobby Norris, he's in Ohio somewhere, and like I say, him being the legal beagle that he is, he got some other type of case filed. You know, of course he's appealing this case here that they got his ass on, man. But you know, that's my story right there, man, about snitch ass Bobby Norris, man. So y'all be careful when you locked up and you go to jail. Don't tell nobody your case. Don't talk about nothing. Motherfuckers want to know about your case. Don't tell them shit, man. Some motherfucker will tell on your ass to get out. Y'all stay tuned, man. Your boy 16 to life.